So Tal, it is such a pleasure having you with us today. Let me get right into things. There's a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about mindfulness and well-being. Here at IE, we just opened actually our Center for Health, Well-being and Happiness. So what is the trick? What is the secret to happiness?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm delighted that IE opened a Health and Happiness Center. I think it can be very beneficial, obviously, for the students, for the community, as well as provide a role model for other institutions to do the same, because it is so important. And I think the key is, whether here or elsewhere, is to make sure that it's based on rigorous research, evidence-based, on science. Because there are so many interventions today out there, self-help, new age, that do not adhere to science. And if you have a scientific foundation, that can really make a difference. Again, whether it's in the students or in the larger community.
So let's bring that a little bit to the business field, right? Like in business, we used to talk about shareholder value, revenue maximization, profit maximization. Now it seems to be as well about well-being and happiness. Why do you think it becomes increasingly important as well in the business world?
Yeah, right. So first of all, it is still important to talk about shareholder values and ROIs. At the same time, what we're realizing more and more, and again, this is what the research is pointing to, that in today's world, in today's organization, in today's leadership, many of the qualities that are associated with success, with business success, with hard numbers, actually stem from increasing levels of well-being. So for instance, in today's workplace, you need innovation, you need creativity. It's no longer enough to just do what the boss says and be done with it. We need creativity. Now, how do you increase creativity? One of the best ways to do it is by increasing levels of well-being. Additionally, if you increase levels of well-being, and we're not talking radical transformations here, we're talking small change, you increase levels of well-being, engagement levels go up. One of the things that we know today about the workplace is there is a lot of disengagement from work. Daniel Goleman calls our age the age of distraction. So one of the antidotes to that is increasing levels of well-being. Another thing we see in the workplace is very high turnover of employees. One of the ways to keep employees is to increase levels of happiness. Teamwork, which is so important in today's workplace, improves significantly as you improve levels of well-being. In other words, what we see is that happiness is a good investment. Happiness pays, whether it's for an organization and of course for society.
So as you said, happiness pays. Happiness drives essentially our return on investment. Great so far. But when we look at the reality is that leadership situations typically are characterized by sleepless nights, lonely decision making. So how do we turn the work environment into a happy environment? What can we do as business leaders?
So first of all, raise awareness about the importance of well-being. If I go to an organization and I say to them, to the leaders, I'll come and speak about happiness to your employees, they say, great, why don't you come for our Christmas party? But if you show them actual numbers and the research and the data on why it matters for our ROI, then it's different. Now, what can you actually do? So first of all, introduce more recovery in the workplace. So sleep turns out to be very important. People used to see sleep as sort of optional, or as in addition to good nutrition and exercise, sleep also matters. Today we see sleep as the most important element of a healthy and happy life. It's also one of the most important elements for decision making. Our decisions are a lot better, whether a micro decision in the moment or macro decision about strategy, are a lot better when we get a good night's sleep or when we get a day off. So recovery is a very important element. Another interesting line of research conducted by one of my ex-colleagues, Teresa Amabile, she's at Harvard Business School, is on the importance of appreciating progress. We tend to run so fast in an organization, there's no time, and yesterday is prehistory. Well, we need to appreciate what we've already done. Yes, think about the future, have strategy meetings, talk about goals and objectives, and at the same time also appreciate what we've already done. It turns out that appreciating matters a great deal, because the word appreciate, I love that word. It has two meanings. The first is to say thank you for something. The second is to grow in value. Well, the two meanings are connected, because when we appreciate the good appreciates. We have more of it.
We haven't touched on another subject yet. You actually have said before as well that ideally what we should be doing in order to drive happiness is turn work into our calling and maybe not see it as a career or just simply a job. So how do we manage to achieve that? How do we turn our day-to-day work into our calling, or should we just look for another job?
Yeah, good. So, sometimes there isn't a fit and the right thing is to look for another workplace. However, more often than not, it's possible to transform what we're doing into a calling. How do we do that? One of the most common practices in organizations is writing a job description. Well, one of the things that I do with my clients is I go in and I ask them to write a calling description. So job description would be about, what you do and the actual actions. You write this, you meet this person, and so on. A calling description is about what difference are you making through your work. So actually focusing on those elements that are making a difference in other people's lives, those elements that are personally interesting, fascinating, the things that you're passionate about. And once we write about it, we just become more aware of it. Because very often, the calling component of our work is right in front of us. We're already doing it. It's just about becoming more conscious. So that's one thing. The other thing is actually introducing more elements in our workday that contribute to our sense of meaning and calling. And the thing is, it's not about radically transforming our workday. It's about introducing small changes. So for instance, let's say my primary work is crunching numbers. However, what gives me a sense of meaning and purpose is working with people. Well, then I can join a team that is organizing an event within the organization. And that's okay, even if I do it for 1 hour a week. That 1 hour can have a trickle effect and can impact my experience for the entire week. Small changes can make a big difference if consistently applied.
I think my next question is a little bit related to that, because you essentially say that we can create happiness through action. And I think especially business people like a very simple formula for success. So how do we make happiness a reality through action? How do we do that?
Yes, so rituals are critical for doing it. So doing things, as I mentioned, consistently over time. For example, imagine if a manager decides once a week, whether it's on a Friday or a Monday, to spend 5 minutes reflecting on what the organization has achieved or what each individual has achieved and appreciating it. Small change, but if consistently done, can make a big difference. Second, why not introduce regular breaks? A manager, a leader can say, recovery is so important, but if the employees see that manager at her desk from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. not taking breaks, they're going to do the same, because people ultimately do what you do rather than what you say, especially when it comes to leadership. So leading by example is critical. It's important for the employees to see the manager going out and exercising on a regular basis. Exercising contributes to concentration, to focus, to creativity, innovation. It makes us nicer people as well. So teamwork improves. Other elements that can be introduced into organization is encouraging social interaction. It turns out that having close friends at work doesn't just contribute to our performance, it also makes it less likely that we'll leave the workplace. And of course, turnover today is a huge issue for organizations, the cost of retraining. So these are some of the small changes that managers can introduce. More than anything, though, I would emphasize leading by example. Be the change, in the words of Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world.
Thank you so much, Tal, for these really insightful thoughts. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.